Welcome everyone. This is Adam Holtby from Ovum, ITSM Research Analyst with Ovum. Thank you for taking the time to watch this short YouTube video, which is going to be one of a series of videos looking at gamification and how gamification can help us achieve more. See on this opening slide here that you've got my Twitter handle there. If you wish to ask me any questions relating to anything that you see in this first video or any of the subsequent following videos, then please feel free to get in touch. So I want to cover gamification from a few different angles throughout this series of videos. Today we're going to look at the what of gamification. So what exactly is gamification and why is it gaining so much enterprise interest and enterprise traction? We'll then take a look at the history of gamification, the relevant recent history of gamification. So looking back over the past 7 or 8 years or so, I mean the principles that embody gamification now, we could look right back to the late 70s, early 80s to see the true history of gamification, but we're not going to go that much in detail. We're going to look at the more recent history of the trend. We're then going to take a look at some examples of gamification. These are consumer space examples, so these may be gamified applications or gamified experiences that you're actively engaged in now that you might not be aware are gamified, but that will really help kind of bring some understanding and some substance to some of the benefits that we're going to speak about. And then in the final video, we are going to put our IT service management caps on and look at gamification very much from an IT service management perspective, where we at Ovum feel that gamification can really assist IT service management, and indeed where gamification has been used to improve service management within some organizations. We'll finish off with some key messages, some key takeaways. So, what is gamification? Well, it's difficult to talk about gamification without talking about games, and games have been around for hundreds of years, but specifically video games, which have really gained a lot of interest, have become increasingly successful since the late 70s, the early 80s, when the very first Ataris came out, long before I was born. Well, not that long before I was born, actually. I'm showing my age now. But there's always been that stereotype around the people that play games, that to be a games player, you are fond of a few things, typically, according to the stereotype anyway. You're not very fond of sunlight, you spend way too much time playing games, and you're not very socially interactive. And these are all misconceptions, but what I'm trying to get at is that there is that stereotype around the type of person that plays games, and that's never really been true. But over the past 5 or 6 years, the appeal of games has really, really broadened, and that's due to a large part due to advances in technologies. If we look at the Nintendo Wii, for example, the Nintendo Wii was released in 2006, and what was really innovative about the Nintendo Wii was in the way that you controlled your avatar or your character on screen, as opposed to just being required to maneuver a complex joypad that had all these complicated button layouts. All that we asked you to do to kind of engage in that experience was to just flap your arms around, effectively. You controlled your character on screen using motion. There was no need to kind of get over that learning curve of which button does which. And the Wii became very successful as of this because it appealed to a lot more people. And I'm sure that you've seen these news stories and these cameras that go into retirement homes, and you're seeing elderly people play games, people that you wouldn't usually associate as games players playing games, due to kind of the breakdown of that barrier that people associated with games in the past. And social technologies, they've had a huge impact on video games, and World of Warcraft is a great example of that. World of Warcraft is a hugely successful game, and one of the key reasons why it's such a hugely successful game is because people literally live in the world of Warcraft. They have their friends networks, their social networks, they're all embedded within that game. So while they're playing the game, they're able to communicate with friends. And then we look to Farmville and Cityville, these Facebook games. Again, incredibly successful. But if you take away the social elements from those games, they'd still be good experiences, but they wouldn't be anywhere near as successful as what they are due to those social integrations. And that's because people enjoy sharing their experiences with others. They enjoy sharing their achievements with others. So social technologies have had a huge impact on games. Xbox Live is another great example. And there's a full generation now that use Xbox Live or the PlayStation Network to communicate with their friends. They don't pick up the telephone and call their friends to catch up. That doesn't happen for a generation. They'll just communicate with each other over a game of Call of Duty. Final example here is the Kinect, which was a piece of hardware released by Microsoft in 2010. And Microsoft developed the Kinect because they wanted to steal back some of Nintendo's market share. The Wii was incredibly successful by 2010, and Microsoft and many other people had identified that success as being due to the fact that they'd innovated on the control front. So Kinect is great technology. It's more often referred to now as hands-up technology because there's literally no kind of third-party tool required for you to control your avatar or your character on screen. All you do to control your character on screen with Kinect is just use your body. You use your hands. Again, you might look a little bit silly if someone walks past your living room and sees you flapping your arms around like a crazy person, but still, really, really great technology and really, really affordable. So affordable, in fact, that many engineering and research departments have actually used that Kinect technology and leveraged that Kinect technology in really innovative ways, and ways that Microsoft didn't originally intend. Microsoft's original intention for Kinect was to further the gaming experience, but it's been used in so many different ways now, in really innovative ways, and Microsoft is really embracing this kind of open source culture around that hardware. So the point I'm trying to make here is that games appeal to a lot of people. A lot of people from a lot of different demographics find games very much engaging. And where gamification was born was in taking what's successful about these experiences, what's engaging about these experiences, what is it that makes games so engaging for people? What mechanics is it? What design process is it? How does a games designer think about developing an experience? And it's applying these things to non-game contexts, so enterprise applications, for example. And while there isn't a kind of universally accepted definition for gamification, the one that I like is the one that you see on screen now, which mentions gamification as the concept of applying game design thinking, so how game designers think about developing an experience, and game mechanics, such as a few examples here, points, badges and leaderboards, to non-game contexts to make them more engaging. So how does that look? Well, Fitocracy this is an application that you can download on your iPhone, you can download this on your Android device, and Fitocracy takes the experience of keeping fit, maintaining a good level of general health. And what it does is it uses game mechanics, and it's been designed in such a way to leverage game mechanics, and it makes that experience much more rewarding. So we can see there we've got quests. The first quest there is the bench press is one of the most blah 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 blah. So quests are specific, defined instructions. It's something that the experience is asking of you to do specifically. So it's giving you a tailored and specific direction. And upon completing that quest, you're going to be rewarded with points, which are another game mechanic, another game element. And those points will contribute to your overall level within the game. So on the surface, and when I show people this example, especially amongst people that are quite skeptical around gamification, it's often a question of, well, why? You know, why does the experience of keeping fit need these game elements? I suppose I'm quite a good example of that, because regardless of whether I had a gamified system, I would still keep fit. I would still run, because I associate a lot of benefits with keeping fit. But sometimes those benefits, those long-term benefits, sometimes they're just not appealing enough to people to kind of warrant that behavioral change that's required. So the game design elements and the game mechanics are there to really help encourage that behavioral change. So simple game mechanics such as points, badges and leaderboards in this instance are used to onboard someone to an activity. So instead of us just saying to someone, well, you should keep fit because you're going to achieve a weight loss goal, or you're going to reach a certain level of great health, we're giving them the intrinsic rewards of these points, badges and leaderboards. And the wider appeal of those, especially if you look at the level statistic on this example, is that person's then going to be getting feedback, real-time, valuable feedback, because they're given specific instructions by way of the quest on what they need to achieve. They're being rewarded with an intrinsic incentivization, so we've got the points there. and then they're being given that feedback. So they're saying, right, reach 100 points and you're going to reach level 2. It's really, really powerful, and these feedback loops are one of the key benefits of gamification. And if we just think of this in an IT service management context, for example, and how similar feedback could be useful, traditionally, I know amongst enterprises that I've worked for in the past, feedback's been something that you've only been given every 4 weeks, every 6 weeks. And from an engagement perspective, that's not great, because my behavior needs to adapt a lot quicker than every 4 to 6 weeks. And it's obvious that behavior adapts according to feedback that one receives. So it's really important, and gamification can be one of the mechanisms that helps us achieve this, that we're delivering people more regular and relative feedback, because in turn they can adjust their behaviors according to that feedback. And gamification, through those game elements, through the feedback loops that it can engage people in, can really help us achieve that and really help us bridge that engagement gap. Right, that's the end of video 1. In the next video, we're going to be looking at the why of gamification. So why is it that it's gaining so much interest, and why is it that so many enterprises are looking at gamification? What's the problems that it's trying to fix? Thanks a lot for taking the time out to watch this video today, everybody. I look forward to speaking to you again at the next installment.